Rams, if I'm to believe they're good at evaluating talent, did a smart thing, because now they're going to have, if he can play, a guy on a rookie deal for the next 4 or 5 years, and that's very important. And I just trust less in Sean. I think the most important, impactful pick in the draft, the Chiefs trading up to get Delane, I think one of the most right now impactful as it applies to the 26th season. So we are in an era of Cowboys football where it's smelling like roses a little bit. And I don't want to get out over my skis here, but I think they're going to be very competitive. White Steve.
What are you laughing at?
White Steve.
What's up,
Great
boys?
nickname.
How we doing?
We're doing.
Been too long.
Yeah, it has been a while. I just got back from Folly Beach, South Carolina.
Oh,
Boy, are your arms tired.
Yeah, from fuck me. That's not a good joke.
Did you have fun?
I did.
Are
I did.
you tan? Or is
Yeah,
that the
I have a
light-
little
Is that
tan.
the lighting?
I'm a little tan. The lighting's good, but I'm a little tan. I was at the beach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We got an Airbnb, me and the fellas, and we didn't leave the Airbnb at one point for 40 hours.
So it was a good Airbnb.
Well, we got a little antisocial.
That's fine.
We had
Totally
the beach
fine.
right there. We had some good conversations.
Nice.
Yeah,
Remember when
it was a
Macon
great weekend.
went to Outer Banks and he was doing the show in the basement? And he
Yeah,
hated
that was-
everybody?
Yeah, that was heroic, man. That was heroic.
Yeah.
Interviewed Kirk Herbstreit from a toilet, which I regret, actually. I thought he was going to perhaps find it a bit more funny than he did, but it really was by necessity. How are you, Steve?
I'm good. I'm saw the interview you had with Scott with the Masters, some hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, he's not
it
used to
was-
that.
No, he was a little, I could tell he was a little timid. You know, like he's like, "What, Chris, he wants me on." I'm like, "Yeah, you're at the Masters. There's nothing else going on."
Yeah,
Like, he
Scott, we do this every year. We're like, who do we know that can aid our algorithmic endeavors as it relates to golf? It's only Scott Van Pelt. You want to talk about the draft, guys?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Please, anything. Little League Baseball?
Little League Baseball. I'm just hoping our practice got canceled. It's a Tuesday practice. We got back today. Me and the head coach, we're fried. We're tired. Me and the head coach and the bench coach are really struggling from this weekend. So,
Do you guys wear full uniforms?
no, we don't wear full. I don't even wear a uniform because it's not about me. You know,
Okay.
it's about the kids.
All right. It's for the kids.
Yeah. So, all right. The draft.
Yeah.
I watched every minute of it throughout the first round. Followed along as the later rounds got completed this weekend, and I guess we should just start with Fernando Mendoza. No shock, but from there on out, it was kind of interesting. I mean, I know this isn't the most heralded draft class when it comes to top end talent, but there were some interesting twists. Macon, we'll start with your team, the New York Football Giants. I thought they had the biggest boom bust potential first round out of any of the teams. Because you called it, you said they're probably going to take this damn Maui Noah guy. They took Maui Noah.
Yep.
His feet might be a little heavy. We'll see. I always feel like tackles, there's a big variability in how they pan out. They obviously in the past couple of years had taken Neal, who hasn't worked out, and they took Andrew Thomas, who didn't look like he was going to work out and has turned into a great player. So the outcomes are variable. But the Arvell Reese pick, guys, to me is just a total fucking question mark. And I will say this, as he walked across the stage, I found myself thinking he had Hall of Fame aura. He's got some aura to him. But where are you going to play the guy? Malik Neighbors asked some very fair questions.
Well, my answer is multifold. 20 years old. Harbaugh likes him at middle linebacker to start. They may move somebody, they may not. They've acquired a bunch of talent. I think he's a Swiss Army knife. I think he can do a lot of different things. And he says he likes to play fast and physical and do that consistently. And I don't think you can pass up on talent like that at 5. There's a report today that if Love and Reese were gone at 5, the Giants would have taken Francis Maui Noah.
They love him.
And then, 10 maybe you go downs. But Reese, yeah, I don't think you know quite what he will end up being at this point, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I think I know what he should be early. I don't know about you, Steve, but I think he should be off ball on first and second down. I think he's an off ball player that in sub packages, at least early, you move him around and you put his hand in the dirt and teach him how to pass rush.
Yeah. I think he starts as a stack backer. It's the classic argument, right? Of, what's the plan as opposed to the guys who are taking him and saying, well, it's a good problem to have. Look at all the guys we have. Look at this turbo third down pass rush set we're going to have. I'm like, yeah, but what about first and second down? What if you don't get teams into passing situations? But I'll say this, Chris, like being there Thursday practice before the first game of the year, Texas, Ohio State, going to Ohio State's practice. I'm like, who's 8? He didn't play last year. Like, what's going on here? Then you factor in, talking to Matty P, and he's just like, man, I could do everything. I got Sonny. I can move around. Caleb's a stud, and Arvell's just going to be our attacker. And, you see the traits. His story's awesome. Mr. Ginn, another guy that he's helped out. That guy, I mean, he should have his own statue in that state. But when you look at Arvell, I was so excited for this because of the unknown. Like around here, like the Commanders are at 7. It's like, who are the Commanders saying? Well, tell us who's going to be there. No one knew who was going to be there. So I think that even moved up all the way to 3. And when you saw the Love thing, it's like, oh, no, that's just the owner saying that he wants Love because he's going to sell jerseys. And then every single mock I read, not one of them had Carnell Tate going to Tennessee.
Right.
So when that happens, it's like, holy shit, I don't know what the Giants think about Reese. And then obviously, I had a little birdie in my head going back and looking at Harbaugh, knowing he had 2 picks, and I'm not saying he's making the pick, but the Ravens have never, when Harbaugh was there, and even going farther back with Ozzie, they've never taken an Ohio State player in the first round. And then I was like, he's going to have to here. He's got 3 absolute studs that might all be there with the 2 picks.
Yeah.
The Maui Noah thing, what's the right tackle's name? Illuminor?
Yeah.
Jermaine Illuminor.
Yeah, so the way I read that, Chris, was one of those Maui Noah or him's going to kick the guard, and they're gonna go 5 best, however that works. And Maui Noah, I think, is more set up to be a guard. You mentioned the feet. He doesn't have the stature, the size, the reach, but he's a tough dude. Then there's whispers about the back, but I thought he handled himself, really well. I liked Fanu the best, just because I think he has more upside, versatility, better feet. So I look at the Giants and taking those 2 guys saying, you know what, we're going to figure this out to plug and play, but we're already better. Our roster's already better, and we have versatility with these 2 guys.
You mentioned Fanu headed to Cleveland. I thought Cleveland, and they've been drafting their asses off.
Yeah.
This is a team that, quite honestly, it sounds hilarious to say it because it's kind of shaped this entire era of Browns football, but they're a quarterback away. they're a quarterback away, this team. Now, I'm hearing reports that Deshaun Watson looks, I don't know what the word described was, fantastic in practice. I don't know if that's like, a desperate plea to get him to be a movable object. or if it's just bullshit,
Yeah.
or if it's just a nothing burger. But I do think the roster is really rounding into form. They snagged the Concepcion guy, who college football watchers will tell you every time he lined up against an NFL talent type corner, he showed out and might be the best wide receiver in the draft. Do you like the draft that the Cleveland Browns had, Steve?
I don't like it. I love it.
Yeah.
When I look at what they did, I mentioned, my thoughts on Fanu. I wondered at 24, it had to be a receiver. Like when you go look and it's like Jerry Jeudy, okay, that's our guy. But what is he? Is he what's the best case for Jerry Jeudy? Probably, a really good slot.
A high level number 2.
Yeah.
That he catches the ball.
And but like where matchups and what let's get his attributes to the forefront. I loved Boston amongst the receivers. I know Makai Lemon's great. I just wondered about the size, and I looked at the Cleveland deal, and you just mentioned Deshaun, Shador, Dylan. Like I'm sure we'll talk about the Ravens later, but like the idea of bringing size in to catch the ball, I think that's huge. In more ways than one. But when I just love Boston's so smooth, I thought he got caught up in an erratic quarterback play with Damon Williams at Washington. He's a 1. I thought he played great against other competition. He got dinged a little bit, yes, but like in this draft, who hasn't gotten dinged with a couple injuries? Like that's one thing I almost just threw out totally. When you're talking about players, it's like, yeah, this guy missed 3 games, this guy missed 2 games. But when you look at Boston, and then EMW, the safety from Toledo, like I watched him and I'm like, he could do it, man. Like, and I just started thinking like, this kid's got some loyalty. Like he had plenty of offers to go somewhere. And I'm watching, I'm like, he's there. What was he at? He was 26th pick in the second round. I'm like, this is crazy that he's still there. So those first 4, and then Barber's as good a tackle as there is, out of that first. I mean, even Ian Achor that went to Pittsburgh, I don't want to say he's a project guy, but he's still raw. He's still green. Like Barber is a guy that you could plug in and play if you want to go 5 best. So I love what the Browns did. You get Taylor Green. I thought he was going to be in the 4th round. You add him to the mix. Justin Jefferson's an athlete from Alabama. Brailsford has a ton of experience. I'm not sure how much of a factor his size will be, but I just looked at the first 4. Like Concepcion, I like I said, I had Boston over him. I just think Concepcion, when you started talking to the NFL, people was like, oh yeah, returner. Yeah, he's got the return game. I was like, great. I'll worry about returns. I need guys that I could depend on to catch the football.
Right.
And being at the Miami A&M game, Miami just swallowed the whole Texas A&M offense. And like when you go back and watch the tape, like they dominated those tackles. I'm like, I don't want any of those guys. And Concepcion had some alligator arms going over the middle, and then you find out after, he was concussed in that game. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. Why he wasn't a factor. So Casey's been a guy that, you look at the return game, but probably in a start and stop and go separation, he's in the upper tier of these receivers. So I love what the Browns did getting playmakers, and that's 5 starters you're looking at in your first 5 picks.
And they take a flyer on Taylor Green.
Yeah.
And so the Browns have become an organization. It's weird to say that when they draft somebody, I trust them. They have, as funny as that is to say, they have drafted really well of late.
2 years in a row, it's fantastic.
So maybe some turnover there. The big story in the first round, I would say, was Ty Simpson. Speaking of a team that has a couple quarterbacks now, we've got the Rams at 13, kind of surprising everybody. People thought they'd go wide receiver. People thought they'd go Makai Lemon, who ends up in Philly. And I made this mistake. I'm up late watching the draft, just ready to go to bed, and I'm not online. And so when I see the Rams make the pick, I haven't watched Ty Simpson a lot, but teams that I trust, like the Rams, I trust their evaluation of players. And when I saw them do it, I said, well, this is some rich people shit. Like, they have everything they need.
Yep.
They're putting money in the bank. They scratched a winning lotto ticket. They have the 13th pick, and they're putting that money in the bank rather than filling some of these arguable immediate needs that people are going ape shit about online. And I put out a video and I'm like, hey, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
You know, under the assumption that these guys know what they're doing, that Les knows what he's doing, and obviously he knows Ty Simpson's dad and that sort of shit, and he likes the player. I just thought it was wild that people jumped to the conclusions that they jumped to off of a McVay sitting next to Les Snead as he answered two questions. That is the biggest example of people take anchoring and just, you know, it's just wishful thinking that that your reaction to the pick is accurate because you hate the pick. You want Sean McVay to hate the pick. You want him to be sour grapes about it. You want him not to have known about it. That's not the way it is. And then it comes out that Ty Simpson has met with both the GM and the head coach, which is not an everyday occurrence in that draft room. I just think it's to the point where the Rams are, and I don't mean to disrespect Seahawks fans, because as you know, I picked the Seahawks both times, probably all three times they played last year, including the playoffs, and picked the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. Love the Seahawks. But the best roster in the NFC is probably the Rams this year. If you haven't noticed, when you win a Super Bowl, people leave. So I'm looking at the Rams and I'm saying they don't have a lot of holes. They filled those holes. They got aggressive. They went back to the fuck them picks model and bring in 2-star secondary players, right? You knew that was a big hole. Now people are hooting and hollering about, well, they didn't take a receiver at 13. Whether or not the Ty Simpson pick works out remains to be seen, but you can still get a fucking receiver.
Correct.
Jawan Jennings is still out there. There are guys out there that are going to cost less than the 13th pick. And excuse me for thinking that the Rams were good enough to win last year. It came down to the return game, turnovers, fundamentals. It didn't come down to the team wasn't good enough. So I know that there's a lot of people like, oh, they missed this opportunity to patch their holes. They don't have a lot of holes. And if you're talking about returner, just catch the fucking ball and you're probably playing in the Super Bowl. It's not about the quality of the roster. So I thought, sorry about the rant.
No.
I thought that the Rams, if I'm to believe they're good at evaluating talent, did a smart thing, because now they're going to have, if he can play, a guy on a rookie deal for the next 4 or 5 years. And that's very important. And I just trust Les and Sean. If the guy can't play, it's going to blow up in their face a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's the way these things go.
Correct. Like, I just look at the layers. Like, when you start from the top down, like I look at Les, right? Les doesn't know if Stafford's going to be 1 or 2 years. Shit, he doesn't know what McVay's being. I'm sure they've had talks, you know, but McVay could be gone. Like, you know what?
He had the burnout thing a couple years ago.
Like, I mean, he was going to be the next, Thursday night Amazon guy or Monday night, whatever it was.
It'd be electric.
So, like, Les is trying to protect his roster, his deal. And you mentioned the relationship, and everybody knew that was a possibility. And I think, it as we get more time and, it starts to be a bigger story, and we know there's not a lot of quarterbacks and he's the next guy, everybody forms their opinion. And, the red flags are there, not a lot of starts. And then when you look at the starts, it's been 4 years and probably 8, 9 really good games. And then he has, the weight loss due to a medication that he's taken to deal with an injury, and the offensive line goes down the tubes and they don't have a run game. And the other thing, they're playing better football teams later in the year. So He doesn't look like what he did, when we're, against Vanderbilt, against Missouri, like where he's lighting it up and he's getting the ball, all these guys. So I look at that, and then, like, as you said, like, I look at this, the NFL is just so amazing to me, because look at how it was reported, okay? Do you believe there was substance with Ty Simpson's dad and Les? Yeah, of course. They're friends. Of course they talked, and this is a possibility that it could happen. But, like, as soon as the draft pick comes, every news guy had the Rams talk to Stafford. He knew they were going to do it. Then the press conference comes, and McVay's just, in one of his moods. And then, like today, you fast forward, like you just said, Ty Simpson said he sat down with McVay for hours and talked. So it's hard because there's always layers and layers and layers. And then the people that want to say the Rams are dumb because they did, look at the Patriots. Tom Brady always wanted a piece to help the thing, and they never did that. And then the year they took Garoppolo, and Peyton Manning, the same thing. And that's ended up ending his timeline in Indy because they didn't get enough help. It's like, well, there is a future. Like, there's people that are planning for the future. You have to do that in this league.
You have to.
And then to your
It's
point,
life
they're
insurance.
right there. They're right
it's
there.
It's life insurance.
And Les probably had to talk with Sean. It's like, we got you an all-pro corner. Like, what? We want holes on your team? They had a bunch of travel guys, journeymen, corners. And the Seahawks just went to town on that secondary. So he went out and shored that up. So I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I get the quarterback people with the red flags, I'll tell you this. I feel a hell of a lot better about Ty Simpson than I did when the Bears took Mitch Trubisky. I'll say,
well, yeah. And you're talking about two players that fit the mold of having like less than 15 starts.
Yeah.
I looked this thing up. There was, people talk about Ty Simpson's small frame and that sort of thing. That's one thing, but also, the group Trubisky, Trey Lance, Richardson, all those guys fit the mold for guys that hadn't started a lot of games in college. The positive examples are obviously guys like Cam Newton, but it is a bit of a wild card, man. It is, and I'm not, when I say, hey, I like the idea, I'm not saying I'm endorsing the player. That's their job. I don't evaluate these guys at a high level. And guess what? Even the guys that do, they're batting 500, right? They're the great ones. Who knows if this kid can play? But I'll tell you this: he's going to end up in a very quarterback-friendly situation, learning from a Hall of Famer, taking his time, and playing in an offense where, Macon, I'll ask you this: how good does Ty Simpson legitimately have to be to run a Rams offense? Like, for the Rams to make a playoff game, you think about organizations that elevate quarterbacks, offensive coordinators that elevate quarterbacks, setups that elevate quarterbacks. I put them on the spectrum of like, this is very advantageous to play in this offense. So I don't even think he needs to be what he'd need to be if he was drafted by the Steelers or drafted by the Dolphins. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he could be a 7 out of 10 and play like a 9.
Yeah, it's certainly the best fit for the player. I'm of the mind of the keyboard jockeys, I guess, on this one. When you're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl at the moment, and you have this lottery ticket at 13, when you can get an impact player like Makai Lemon or Ruben Bain, pick the position. You just got another tight end in the second round. You could have gone Sadiq there. To me, that makes more sense than this unnecessary distraction. You guys are saying McVay's just in one of his moods. The only mood I've ever seen Sean McVay in is, rah, rah, this is awesome. I love football. Let's go. And that night he's talking about, Simpson will compete with Stetson for QB2 potentially. And then they're walking it back the next day. And Stafford was aware. It seemed to me like Stafford was told the day of. Like Stafford wasn't a part of this.
That's okay. But here's you want to talk about a mood. The guy fucking vacations with Matt and Kelly Stafford. It's a different dynamic than some old head coach that, like Bill and Tom or something like that. These guys are boys.
Yeah.
They've won a Super Bowl together. And I'm not discounting what you say that, like, maybe you go best available. That's what I thought they'd do going into the draft. I framed the question. I said, who can help the Rams the most right now? Because they're in a wide open window to win the Super Bowl. Yeah.
And I'm just taking the bait that maybe Sean was actually not pleased.
Well, maybe I'm being naive, and maybe I'm falling for, media posturing and that sort of thing. But I just believe that, like, it's easily explainable that you don't want to act too fucking geeked up when the replacement of one of your best friends gets drafted. I don't think people fully understand the dynamic. Sean McVay is how old?
Our age.
Stafford's how old?
Our age.
Yeah, they're boys.
Yeah.
Like, and all of a sudden, they're not going to say, hey, well, he's the future. You're going to say, hey, he's going to compete with Stetson Bennett. He's got to earn it. Welcome to the team, buddy. Welcome to the team, buddy. Welcome to the team, buddy. I don't believe Les Snead has the autonomy or the authority to just pick a guy. And it's reported as such that these two have always worked in concert and gone back and forth on things. I do think a key thing, though, that people are missing, all the fucking geniuses online, the geniuses.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, they're all so brilliant. You act like he can't get a receiver in a trade like tomorrow, right? And it would cost less than the 13th pick. I brought up Juwan Jennings. You know what Makai Lemon does well? I mean, works the middle of the field versus zone coverage. He's going to help the Eagles in that way. You know what Juwan Jennings does? All that stuff. And he blocks. And he's a veteran player, and he would cost a lot less than the 13th pick in the draft. So I get kind of, I don't know. I start trusting these guys depending on which GM it is, which head coach it is.
I don't want to say the draft. We might get to him. But, Chris, to further that point, look at what the Jags got out of Jacoby Myers last year. Like, he was enormous.
That's a veteran.
In their playoff run. And they got him at the deadline.
Yeah.
So, like, listen, Les has been at this way too long. He's way too smart. And, people just want, like, I don't know, they want a super squad. I'm like, that's not how it's going to work.
Well, also, people, I think, it's revisionist history of why the Rams didn't advance this year. Like, the box score of that football game, 31-27, that football game that decided who was going to the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, 22 of 35, 374, 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns. Took 1 sack.
I think he had 700 yards in the 2 games because the other loss at Seattle was the 2-point play.
So what are people fucking telling me, dude?
Yeah, I don't know.
What are people telling me? I totally get it. Like, I wanted to go best available. But don't tell me, oh, well, the Rams don't have a third wide receiver. They can't win the Super Bowl now. The guy threw for 400 yards in that game. Puka went for 165. Adams went for 90. Colby Parkinson, by the way, went for 62. They run 13 as much as anybody in the league. That's one thing that we talked about in the wake of this draft, because the Bears, my buddy Backy, we're on vacation this weekend, and I'm like, how are the Bears doing in the draft? He's like, we drafted another, I can't do the accent, we drafted another fucking tight end.
Whoa,
like, what are we doing?
Good.
And I said, well, look around the league.
Yeah, everybody.
They ran a lot of 12 last year. They're going to run more 13. All I'm saying is it's so easy to poke holes and be the smart guy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Rams and I'm saying a third receiver is not what kept them out of the Super Bowl this year. Kill me. You know
Rams
what I'm saying?
Rams have won 2 Super Bowls in their history and didn't draft either quarterback. So you can also get a quarterback once the rest of the roster.
That's revisionist history right there.
Say that again. Say that again.
Rams have won 2 Super Bowls. They didn't draft either quarterback.
Got it.
Kurt Warner, Matthew Stafford. So
got it. So
that's
lightning
just
has to strike
Sean
3
McVay also
times.
won a playoff game in Seattle with John Wolford.
That's the counter, Wake Forest. That's the counter to you guys saying you can go out and get Juwan Jennings.
What did it cost to get Matt Stafford?
Sure, I understand. Harder to go get the quarterback.
They're just not growing on trees.
But it doesn't need to be Makai Lemon. What if Reuben Baines running around back there?
Well, Reuben Baines not a nose tackle. If you want to talk about needs, they have edge defenders.
Well,
this wasn't a draft for nose tackles.
You're allowed to move down.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot.
Now, Charlie in the chat saying it might be a second wide receiver, not a third. Devontae's 34 and was hurt and less effective down the stretch. Okay. He had almost 100 yards in the NFC Championship game. I just keep hearing they can't do it without drafting an impact player at 13. And that to me is just, you might be right, but it doesn't take a lot of going out on a limb to say, oh, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. Only one team gets to win the Super Bowl. I think it's entirely possible with the roster they have right now, and they know it, and that's why they took him.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk about the Eagles. Mm-hmm. The Eagles had a very interesting first round. Some people thought they'd go offensive line, invest in the future. I think they did that later with Markel Bell. I think they really like that Markel Bell guy. You heard Howie Roseman talking about him. It's just a big, massive.
He's a unit.
Massive individual
enormous.
from Miami.
He just can't. I don't trust him in his own scheme. But I mean, you want to go gap runs. I mean, and also too, his foot. I mean, he's what do we got? 6'9", 346. I mean, when I was watching him in the playoff run in person in Miami in the all whites, he looked about 7 feet, 350. Like he's just a unit, and his feet are good enough. Chris, tell me if this makes sense. When I watch defensive linemen against these oversized guys and the giant, like his feet are good enough where a lot of times you got to go around him, and that shit takes a while. It takes a while. He's got good enough strength, and like I said, gap runs, he's good. He moves. He's only going to get better. My issue with the Eagles is that you lost the Hall of Famer offensive line coach, and I don't know, how that development and what you've seen Stout do with that line and how valuable they've been in winning Super Bowls and going to Super Bowls and having success in that league. That's the one I look at. I'm sure they have the whole notebook still from Stout, but day in and day out, that's
the coaching. The development. Yeah. We've always had hey, we're going to find a rugby player and turn him into an all-pro. This kid, he's a project.
Ty Simpson played his best football of his life there.
No question. I also think, though, and I'm not taking anything away from Stout. I think Stout's fucking fantastic. One of my favorite people. But you can't discount the fact that Makai Becton's playing between Lane Johnson and those other guys.
I mean,
and so, it's a little bit, chicken or the egg. There's you got some great players there. They've also Stout developed those guys really well. If they can develop a Markel Bell and continue to have this secret sauce, they're going to be very happy. But of course, they go Makai Lemon, and actually steal Makai Lemon from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that was
Howie trading up with Dallas. The last time they traded with Dallas for a wide receiver in the first round, they ended up with Smitty. So this is bound to work out. I like the guy. I like his attitude. I don't know if people are calling this, but it's like a slither, man. When he talks, he does this every fucking time. He's a really interesting press conference. He's also, he seems like a dog.
He's a fucking stud.
Just a dog on the field. Probably one of these guys that is a better football player than an athlete. And he's going to thrive against zone coverage, something that the Eagles struggled. Working zone coverage, working in the middle of the field. I mean, you look at what they did in the second round. They drafted a tight end. They've customarily found really good, as Howie Roseman mentioned, tight ends in the second round. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Dudes are trying to win the middle of the field in Philly, and that seems very intentional because that has not been what they've done in the passing game, at least. I really like the picks, and if this Lemon guy is a good football player, they're going to sell 1 million fucking jerseys because he's built for the city. And I think, obviously, this is a nail in the coffin with A.J. Brown. There's a lot of people that didn't believe he'd ever be on the move. They were like in denial. He's on the move. The room is more complete. There's something quietly the Eagles really have lacked is the slot receiver. And, talked about Dotson not working out as well. But now you've got Wicks, Brown, Smitty, and Lemon. That is a complete room. You've got tight ends. That offense is potentially very good. Potentially very good with the weapons.
Stowers is going to spend a lot of time in that room, Chris. He does.
You talking about you not putting his hand on the ground?
No, he does not.
Yeah,
so
no.
You want to talk about?
He's Calcaterra.
He's, a serious athlete.
Yeah. Well, I'm not just
about,
saying from a functionality standpoint.
I'm just saying, when you talk about that room and what are the struggles, scoring touchdowns in the red zone, like you got two guys that get open in minimal space. Stowers is, everybody knows the story of being a former quarterback and 5-star at A&M and going to Mexico State and playing with Pavia and learning how to play that way. But I mean, a serious, 45-inch vert. Like, you're not telling me Jalen Hurts doesn't want that in the red zone? His explosive numbers are awesome. So I want, everybody wants to talk about the contract status with Dallas Goedert, whatever. I still think there's a role for him because Eli's not going to put his hand in the dirt and be a true Y. It's just not going to happen. But you want to start messing again with 12 personnel and 13. Like, you do that with him.
No question. You get more of these wide receiver. Damn. Too many American spirits this weekend. They really are better. Yeah. They really are. They last longer. They're cleaner. I take it you guys aren't part of the tribe.
No.
I'm a Marlboro man myself.
Put those down, white man. All right. So I just I thought the Eagles had an interesting day. I mean, I haven't gotten into it, pick 1 through 7 or whatever, but I thought trade. You are Bernard, a guy we talked a lot about. Just a total stud athletically. I don't know. We'll see about the football player, but here they go again. Just doing shit because there's something about doing something where you have nothing to lose. Like, if it doesn't work out, everybody's like, well, the guy had never played football before. Howie loves these moves, and I can't wait to see it. I want to go up that, not that I can help the guy, but I would love to fucking spend some time with that guy.
Oh, God. I as soon as they drafted him, he's walking out with the flag around. I'm like, get Chris up there because you're going to say 10 minutes, and it's going to be 3 hours later. You guys are still dripping sweat out on the bag in the chutes. Like, the whole. I
want to work with the guy, dude. I want to work with the guy. He's a ball of clay. And if anyways, if he learns to use his hands, so I think it's a fun class. You also trade for Grenard, who's one of my favorite players in the league. I just love John Grenard, and we love John Grenard for this quote. I got the quote right here.
He was at the Sixers game when he found out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know if he was at the Sixers game or not.
I thought he was. I saw
but Lemon was at the Sixers game like in 2 hours. Like, they drafted him, and then he was there with Smitty. Jonathan Grenard, I'm being traded to the Eagles. I want to have some hardware on my finger. When my agent said the deal was going through, I hopped on that plane as fast as I could. Says he wants to be one of the great vets who played in Philly, like Brandon Graham and Chris Long. Yeah. We love Jonathan Grenard. I do. I just appreciate the way he plays the game. He's a complete player. He rushes. His rushes don't die out. He's not one of these people that gets stoned. He plays with his hands. He plays the run. I'm psyched about Grenard in Philly, and he's a good dude. He's like a good locker room dude. So we're going to hope to get him on the show soon. And I think, he signed the big new deal with Philly. I'm happy for the guy. Only a couple sacks last year, but I think people know what his potential is as a disruptor. And so the right attitude for him, he knows he's a vet. He knows he's got a chance to fill a leadership role there, and they could use him. If BG's not playing, they need leadership in that room. That was a very young room. So I think this was a fun weekend for Eagles fans, and definitely maybe the most fun part of it was hearing their new quarterback talk about what he would do if the game was on the line. Cole Payton, who, by the way, might play some Wildcat. They asked him, what are you running with the game on the line? He obviously hasn't watched a lot of Eagles games. Familiarize yourself with the 2025 schedule. The wild card game. What'd they run at the end of the game with the game on the line? 4 verts. What did Cole Payton say he wants to run with the game on the line? 4 verts. It's just like, dude, no. Pick something else.
Too soon.
Eagles fans don't want to hear that right now. It's way too soon.
Too soon.
So the Eagles, anyways, we get Lemon, you get Bell, and there's other guys in there we'll talk about in depth more, but I don't want to turn this into an Eagles podcast. With that in mind, let's talk about the Cowboys because I really like their
Yes.
first round, as you know, Steve, because I was talking about this damn Malachi Lawrence guy.
Yeah.
DJ comes on, and I know he's a little bit polarizing, but I'm not talking about DJ. I'm talking about Lawrence. DJ called it. He said, look for him to go to the Cowboys. I knew he could rise, but I didn't know he could rise like that. Remember, this is the guy when I looked at YouTube, and I'm just talking about YouTube highlights and shit. He was the guy that caught my eye. If I had watched with no suggestion of where these guys are slotted to go, his upside was as high as anybody's. He goes to the Cowboys, and they end up getting their guy in the first round. Caleb Downs seems like the dude that's the most well-researched as far as his football acumen and his leadership. Like in the whole draft, like a culture changer. I know there's some questions about his range and his speed.
Yep.
Certainly that might color in how they want to play him there, but I thought they have potentially a very good first round.
Oh, I love the Cowboys, what they did. Malachi, and you say you're watching YouTube. I'm guessing on YouTube, there's not many clips of him against the run. I just think because he's light in the ass, that's where he has to get better. But, you talk about situation football all the time and how good these guys are, and people love this new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. I mean,
Christian Parker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way people were talking about him being at the draft, and that's what's great for me being at the draft. Like I'm, on the road every Saturday for college, and then I get to NFL, and like I just have a million questions about NFL personnel, especially coaches, because I just turn the games on Sunday and watch, and and react to it. I'm like, holy shit, that's new and that's different. I haven't seen that happen. So it was really cool to hear about Parker and what he has. And I'll say this, and I know we have a Giants fan on the board here. I can't think of a time in the last. Let's see. I moved to DC 6 years ago. In that time frame, Eagles have won a Super Bowl. The Cowboys haven't been great. Commanders had one run. And I look at this division. And I'm like, top to bottom, this is the best all four rosters have been, and I don't think it's close.
It's getting a lot better.
Yeah, I just with what the Commanders just have alone at the quarterback position, the Cowboys getting defense, the Giants really. I mean, the roster. But we talked about the Browns filling, but the Giants, I think, in the last two drafts have done a really good job of solidifying, and then what they've done in free agency. Getting a guy like Burns. So I'm really excited. Where it just always felt like, the Giants, we're too young, and the Cowboys don't have any defense, and the Commanders don't have a quarterback, and they're so far down. Like this is fun. Like this is old school, like growing up in the 80s and 90s feeling where everybody in the NFC East is all in, and which I think is super exciting because it hasn't felt like that. I mean, the Giants won, those Super Bowls with Eli, but like they didn't have great regular seasons. There wasn't that monumental, and we get it. They get primetime games because of the markets that they're in, but there's some validity here, and I think these teams are verified enough now with rosters alone to have some really good juice back in these games because it just felt like it's been one-sided with the Eagles on top for so long.
Listen, I think the Cowboys are in a really mature place.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. And I don't usually think of the Cowboys as a mature operation, but I think Shoddy's a really good coach. I think he's kind of perfect for there. Like he flies under the radar enough that I don't think Jerry feels like he's competing for the spotlight with him. I think he knows his role, and I think he knows football, and he's done a good job with the run game. Obviously, you've got two really talented wide receivers outside. I like the tight end, the whole thing. Hopefully, they can get this tackle they found in the fourth round to play because I think eventually they're going to want to replace the right tackle. But from a coaching standpoint, from a culture standpoint, it really does seem like they're in a very good place. And the fact that the Micah Parsons thing didn't end with Micah Parsons holding like a Lombardi trophy this year, which I think they had a chance to make a run. The minute he got hurt, he swung their fortunes bigly Okay, so we are in an era of Cowboys football where it's smelling like roses a little bit. And I don't want to get out over my skis here, but I think they're going to be very competitive this year. And as to your point, I think the Giants could be competitive. I think the Eagles back down to earth a little bit. You know, they're in a weird part of the build. And then obviously the Commanders have gotten better. The roster needs to get a little bit younger, and that happened this weekend. Dan Quinn gets his stud linebacker, adds to a very impressive room now. With them adding Chenal in the offseason and that sort of thing. Sonny Styles, big wingspan, disruptive in the middle of the field in the passing game. Seems like a great dude, and kind of a culture piece for Dan Quinn, who gets his stud linebacker. Bobby Wagner's leaving, or he's a free agent and a veteran at this point, but Dan's got to have his stud in the middle. So the edge room, the only thing I'll say is I like Joseph from Tennessee, like a flyer. You know, I like that Joseph kid.
Yeah.
I kind of look at their edge room and I say, don't mistake activity for progress. That's what I'm looking at with this offseason and saying, like, you know, they had Owe. I thought it was an overpay.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at their depth chart, they got Chase on, who's been productive, but I still don't think they have an elite edge.
No.
And you know, they're adding guys like Kinlaw, who you know, it's a speculative buy. Like he's revived his career and obviously spent time with Saleh. But I just think they, you know, a lot of activity this offseason. I don't know how much better the defense got. I know it got better,
Yeah.
but are they where they need to be to compete? I don't know about that.
Well, the first thing you got to do is get better. I think, you know, when you look at what they did to try and shore up some end pieces, you know, tying a playoff run to trying to stay at that. You know, they had a couple big wins, you know, being a wild card team. You go get Von Miller, you know, it's an older thing. Lattimore, I think, was just tapped out on that. So you talk about the pieces, you know, Debo, it didn't work out. So how do you got to get young, quick, fast? And I think they did that. I think Antonio Williams is a perfect fit with the offense. He's a really good route runner. Struggled with health, and Clemson wasn't the same team without him on the field. Sonny's a guy, I think he's the best athlete in the draft. When you look at what he could do, and I think the way DQ wants to do it, like they just want versatility. And Sonny could do that. He started out playing safety. You know, I watched him guard Brock Bowers in the Peach Bowl, and what was that, 22? And that was like his first game. I was like, who the hell is this kid? 5-star, of course, from Ohio State. And then, you know, starts moving around with Patricia and goes up to linebacker, but very comfortable playing in space. So it's, you know, it's steps. You know, obviously how important their quarterback is huge. And then you have Connerly, who played every snap at right tackle last year. He's only going to be better. So I think you talk about keeping your quarterback upright, having some pieces. I think Katron Allen's great of a, you know, that bowling ball running back that you want when you have a lead, or you're putting drives together. So I like what they did. I still wonder about the tight end room. There's talent there, but they just haven't taken the next step.
They got Chig Okonkwo. That's a big. You know who I also like that they picked up on the other side of the ball was Nick Cross.
Yeah,
I like Nick Cross.
Both Maryland guys.
I'm not trying to shit on. Well, that was intentional. I'm not trying to shit on. You know, the Commanders and say like whoop-de-doo. I just think. You know, this is the crossroads type year for them.
Yep.
Because 2 years ago, you're ahead of schedule because you got this really, really good quarterback, a veteran roster. Things go your way. You finish the season on a high note. Obviously, I'm not talking about the NFC Championship, but Philly was a wagon. Last year, people get hurt. The team gets too old. This is a big year for them. And so, yeah, to your point, all you can do is get better. I'm just saying, I think sometimes we get in this mode where teams, you look at it and say, hey, well, they added Owe, they added Chazon, they added, you know, like, I still want to see where the pass rush comes from. Mm-hmm. I think that group's got to prove it to hang in the NFC East.
So you're saying take the overs in Commanders games. Got it.
Possibly. I don't know.
Early
I don't want to be
lean.
bulletin board
Nothing
material
wrong with an
for
early
Dan
lean.
Quinn. I don't want to go bulletin board material, but yeah, maybe so.
See what their schedule is, too.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I didn't bring up, conspiracy theory here. Maybe, just maybe, the Rams are going to be in the market for A.J. Brown.
I heard talks about, I think it was somebody in Boston that was like, hey, worst case scenario, let's just do the math. Who would take what play? Like, I supposedly AJ gave a list of teams.
Yeah.
And it was Rams, Chargers, Patriots, maybe Niners. And
Makes sense.
Somebody had crossed off the Rams for some reason. I forgot what it was. But I think
that'd be hilarious if that happened.
I mean, what Howie and the Cowboys just pulled on the Steelers? I don't put anything past them, man. You believe all that stuff? Those dots?
No question. No question. I just think it's again, like, we jump to conclusions too easy and say, oh, it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. I can't believe they didn't think of the third wide receiver, as if they couldn't do something else to fill the need. From tee shots to game-winning goals and buzzer-beating baskets, make every moment unforgettable with BetMGM. BetMGM gives you access to second-chance promos, odds boost tokens, same-game parlays, and so much more. Check back every day for new promos and offers to take advantage of. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you'll get up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager. BetMGM, make it legendary.
You want me to empty my notebook here on positivity?
Sure.
Yeah.
No doubter. Best no doubter pick. Keelan Rutledge, guard, Georgia Tech to the Houston Texans.
Some people thought it was a reach.
No.
Atlanta Falcons. If I'm Avion Terrell, I guess I don't know his relationship with his brother. Do I want to do my own thing, or do I want to go to the same city as my brother?
It depends on their relationship.
We're teammates again, cool, but now I'm getting to the NFL. Maybe I want to be in my own city. Depends on the relationship.
So I don't know that we've ever seen this. We've seen father, son, Ken Griffey Jr., Ken Griffey Sr. We've seen, brothers play together on teams, but brothers playing the same position.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen that at the NFL level? It's okay if you don't know of it.
What did the Griffins short-lived in Seattle in slightly different positions?
Yeah. Kyle and Jake Long. Kyle and Jake Long,
but they never played together.
No, not together.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl? No.
I don't know.
Oh.
Have we seen two brothers playing in the same positions? Yes, brothers have played the same position on the same NFL team, with a recent notable example being AJ and Avion Terrell.
Jason and Devin McCourty.
Carson and Jordan Palmer.
McCourty's is the one.
Derek and TJ Watt, Derek and TJ Watt.
Other side of the ball.
Shaq and Shaquem Griffin.
Yep.
But they're different. Yeah, so they can be on the field together. Anyways, cool thing. Cool thing.
I was going to like whoever took Jermod McCoy once it got to the fourth round. He's a stud. If it works out health-wise, you got a stud. The Dolphins going 3 receivers, 3 linebackers, 2 tight ends. I like that strategy when you have a ton of picks. You figure one's got to be good.
Yeah.
At some point.
I just didn't like their first pick.
Agreed.
Can we talk about that pick for a second?
Yeah.
Aiden Proctor.
This pick, if it hits, I mean, if he's good for some reason, and boy, does it sound like he's going to be good, because the only knock on him is he's easily distracted. Good thing he's playing in Miami where there's no distractions. This guy is very talented, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was like immediately, as soon as they drafted him, everybody was like, checks notes, shit on this guy's off-field work habits. It was like 3 minutes of the only reason this guy doesn't work out is going to be him, right? Mm-hmm. If he's good, think about how good the Dolphins could be soon offensively. Mm-hmm. Because then you got 2 tackles, you got a stud center, You've got a bevy of young talent offensively that you've invested in this draft. The great Malik Willis, Hall of Fame bound, and a running back who scares the shit out of everybody, man. Like, they have a chance to swing the fortunes of their organization with this pick, but it was an ambitious swing at it because this guy is a boom bust kind of thing.
I looked at as Macon pointed out with what they did. I just looked at how they went about getting guys from teams that had success. Like you talk about overturning a roster, and like you look at their picks, it's Alabama, Texas Tech went to the playoff, Ohio State, Texas, a couple Texas guys, 3 Texas guys. So like you talk about a locker room thing, and I think that's still a big deal. Chris, better than anyone is when too much youth is loud. When that youth is loud, you better be doing your job on the field, or that's just not going to be dealt with too well. But no, the totality of the picks I really like. I just starting with a tackle that high where the guy that recruited him said he's not a self-starter. That's
a tough one.
Yeah,
that's kind of the kith of death.
And it drives me nuts too when a top, what did he go, 12? A top 12 tackle, and he gets drafted, and the B-roll starts of the video of him playing, and it's him catching a pass against Georgia. I don't like it.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. Okay, the Ravens, this guard, he's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player. Vega Ione from Penn State. The guy was built to play guard in the National Football. He was born to play guard in the National Football League. And, I know it's early for a guard, but you kind of just set it and forget it. I feel like that's a position that there's some predictability in the outcome there. And he, according to a lot of people, just an absolute beast. So I think the Ravens went out and got the Zion Young. Yeah, the kid, the very physical. This guy from Penn State, physical player, right?
Yep.
Zion Young, physical player. You think Minter's got a type? And that Zion Young phone call is hilarious. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Let's get it.
The coaches couldn't even get a word in. It had to be That's like my phobia. Phone calls like that where they're like you're just a little bit off, like the pause is. And Zion Young he was powering through everything.
I was worried that let's
get it, Steve.
Rookie camps are this weekend, and I was getting the notion that he was going to show up at the facility Monday morning
for sure.
That's what I was like, no, Zion, you gotta wait.
He was ready to play.
Paperwork done and everything before you come in.
Ready to play.
I absolutely love what the Ravens did, and people do all their topics about teams that just miss the playoffs. First off, being in Pittsburgh, the Steelers fans pointed out to me that missed kick, week 17, Ravens Steelers, that ended up being 7 picks. The Ravens are 7 spots ahead of the Steelers, and you look at what the Ravens got, which I would totally think the Steelers would have been in on Ione, and then what happened to the Steelers. But then you go down the line with Jacoby Lane, who's a big receiver, huge wingspan, Elijah Surratt, who's a stud player. He's not your separation guy, but as good of a blocker, back shoulder fade guy. And then the Hibner kid from SMU and Cuevas from Alabama. You lose Likely and Kolar, but along with these receivers, and we've seen Lamar struggle with accuracy and conditions, you got big bodies. And I think that's a huge help to quarterbacks. You get another running back with Adam Randall. I thought it was great that DaCosta was like, no, that's Bisciotti's pick. We let him make a pick, and he running back. But every year it seems like I like what the Ravens do. But Zion Young, like you talk about complementary defensive ends. Like you look at what Hendrickson's going to do, and then you look at Zion. Like Zion's going to stand in there. He could play against the run. He's a free spirit, and I think the Ravens fans will absolutely love him. So I really like what the Ravens did with Hibner. He's your move around F guy, and Rivers is a corner, most likely a slot guy, which everybody talks about on the offensive side with 13 personnel, and that's the way teams are going. Everybody is dying for slot corners.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at, I
Mm-hmm.
love like the Raiders, knowing how much of a mess they were. They went and got Stooks, who was a guy who has unbelievable size, athleticism, but that's the position now. When you talk about, because what do you do against the 13 personnel? Do you go size? Well, those guys are good enough athletes to run routes, so you need those tweeners. And you go back to the Dolphins getting Jacob Rodriguez, and Kyle Lewis is an undersized guy, but he's a playmaker. So it's the ultimate chess match of what teams are going against. So there were talks too, being in Pittsburgh, Chris. It like, could the Bengals be the front runner? Do you have them as the front runner in that division?
Yeah, I generally tend to just pick the Bengals and get disappointed every year. I love what they did with the Dexter Lawrence trade. I do. And, I think it's going to be a lot more fun this year, that division. I also think Pittsburgh is going to be better. So, and the reason I think you don't go you go tackle for Pittsburgh, I don't know if they'd have gone guard. They're trying to move on from Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
He hasn't worked out for them. But yeah, so the Ravens got better.
I just think the Steelers are catching too much flack for what happened at 20 and 21 with Big Max, Jennings Dunker, Jeremy Bernard, Dalen Everett talking about a corner. I think they got some contributors there with those first 4 picks.
I do too. It's the thing, like, how many times do you think a team's getting ready to draft somebody that gets drafted? Like, all the fucking time. The Steelers got undercut by Howie Roseman. But it's funny because the general public hears one nugget and they think they can judge the fuck out of the team in the context of the situation, and they must be a terrible pick. They must have been panicked, like they didn't have a backup, in mind. Like, they have boards for this type of thing. And so, yeah, like they were going to go Lemon, but they ended up with I can't say his name.
Big Max.
Yeah, you end up with that kid who's a good football player. I saw him play David Bailey.
Yeah.
Held up well. So people are going to kill the Steelers, but I don't know if they got worse there.
I like him better than Proctor.
I think they had maybe so. I think he had last year. You look at the Steelers; the tackles were just not very good, and so that's definitely a big deal. Something that made me very happy and excited was Ruben Bain getting drafted.
Yeah,
I like the player a lot. I understand why he might fall, just because if you project what he might be as a pro, like he's maybe a middle of the first round kind of guy, but like it still felt like a fall, right? And I think the arm length has a lot to do with it. The irony is Tampa's got another guy on their defensive front who's got very short arms, and Kalijah Cansey, and so obviously Jason Light, like a smart GM, is looking at guys that he thinks are devalued because of some perceived trait. And I think for Ruben Bain, he's sitting there and he fits perfectly with their group. You got power players on this group: Yaya Diaby, Ruben Bain, who, by the way, can move up and down the line. You talk about guys who can play different positions, right? You talk about Arvell Reese. Hey, last year we talked about Travis Hunter. He plays 2 positions. I know that people don't think of D tackle in the sub package the same way that they think about, the difference between DN and D tackle being the difference between off ball backer and edge, but they're 2 different positions, and they can definitely help you with the guys who got the flexibility to do it. You got Diaby, you got him, you got Cansey, you got Vita Vea. That's a tough group, and you went out and solved the man coverage problem last year. Not saying these guys are home runs, but Parrish is a good player. Let's see more Morrison. And then this year, you go out and get the rusher. I'm excited for the Bucs. I'm excited for Ruben Bain. And I just don't think you needed to put another chip on this guy's shoulder. You saw the way he walked by that fucking mirror, snatched the hat up, didn't even look in the mirror, just drive by, dude. That gave me chills.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is ready to play football. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to watch him play.
I'm super fired up For the Bucks. I put that Bucks and Ravens in the teams that just missed out on the playoffs, and what I loved about their drafts. Trotter got picked higher than the mock guys had, but I'm telling you, watching this kid in person, he's a physical, tough, just a disruptor. And that's the thing I look at Ruben Bain. Like, everybody wants to count sacks, everybody wants to count TFLs, but to your point, with that personnel up front, give me disruption, man. Let me get some guys that are knocking the block off of pullers and stuff like that. Ted Hurst is a big target that's going to help in losing Mike Evans. The dude could run. There's guys like Ted Hurst played at Georgia State. Like, they won like 4 games in 3 years. Like, he didn't have any quarterbacks to throw him the football.
Yeah.
And he goes to the Senior Bowl, and people are like, holy cow, this Ted Hurst guy. It's like, yeah, it's amazing what a receiver could do when he gets the ball. Keontae Scott was one of my favorite off-the-ball guys. What he did for that Miami defense in the playoff run, and looking, again, a disruptor, a great blitzer, a guy that plays in space, blows the Ohio State game open with just seeing an absolute read on a quick screen and picking it and taking it to the house. So I love what Tampa did. You go down, Stroud, you get some O-line depth with Stroud from Notre Dame. I thought they made the most of their picks. They only had 1 pick in each round. They had 2/5. But Trotter is a guy, I get it, but I'll take the moxie he brings to the table, man. Watching him and Zion Young together in person was a treat, and his physicality is going to translate. That's what I look at in linebackers too. Is how they gonna hold up on lead blocks? How are they gonna hold up on double teams where guys are coming off on him? He's got all the physicality to handle that. So I'm excited for Todd Bowles and his group.
I think it's worth mentioning, as we mentioned, defensive lineman taken in the first round, Mesidor. I thought he was one of the highest floor type guys. Like, somebody was going to take him because he fills an immediate need for somebody at a premium position. 25 years old, maybe not the highest ceiling, but his floor is high, in my opinion. And he also fits the mold of, I think, how the Chargers want their guys to play up front.
Yep.
And I think what's interesting about it is, if you're the Chargers, some fans might not say that's an immediate need, even with Khalil Mack aging and that sort of thing. And I look at playing Patrick Mahomes twice a year, and I say, this is how you beat him. This has not changed. To beat the best, you have to be able to get pressure with 4. And they're building a unit that you can do just that. And I think Thule and this guy working together, running games, flying around, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Like, this is a good group up front. And I'm not saying it's to the same degree, but when we drafted Aaron Donald, everybody said, why did they draft Aaron Donald? That's not the weakness of their team. They got some first rounders. They've invested in the defensive line. It's never too much, not when you're playing a guy like Patrick Mahomes in division. And so I was excited about that pick for the Chargers, and for Mesidor, who's had kind of a unorthodox path. Obviously he's been in a couple schools, but he started out as a nose tackle, man. He's 25 years old. And he ends up getting selected in the first round to a very good destination in LA with the Chargers.
Yeah, you mentioned the Chargers. They've played the Chiefs the best of a team that I feel like that plays them time after time. Obviously, you point out they got to play them twice a year. Mesidor, I just, again, going back with Bain, those guys, just watching the motors. I think that's a credit to Jason Taylor on how great of a job he's done. Obviously, they are great talents. But when you talk to people on that defense of just getting to know the guys, like, they just want more. They want to be coached hard. I love hearing that. I feel like I don't hear it enough where, guys want criticism. And that's the first thing Jason Taylor talked about with Mesidor and Bain. I would have been happy if the Bucs took Mesidor there because, to your point, highest floor, I need a guy that got to come in and he's got to get after it. He's got the size and he's got the speed. People are going to pick apart the age, but when I'm talking about a win now mentality and what the Chargers are and how close they are, I love them being able to get him there.
I was also a little bit surprised. No, I'm not surprised about it, but we worried about some of the body types on these edge players. The Cassius Howell guy from Texas A&M, who I really liked his tape. Tiny arms, T-Rex arms. Love his game. Ends up in Cincinnati, I think. So, there's some pretty impact. There's some young guys that are going to have to play big snaps. And, Mesidor is one of them. I think the Bengals will expect something out of Howell ASAP.
Yeah, they're going to need it.
I think the most important, impactful pick in the draft, either way, is going to be the Chiefs trading up to get Delane. I think one of the most right now impactful as it applies to the 26th season and the next couple of years. I mean, Spags, they go out and get him. The Clemson DT, they trade up for Delane. The first few picks are defense. It felt like they knew exactly what they needed to do. As you've watched this defense kind of atrophy over the past couple of years, they said enough's enough. Time to load up. They addressed defensive tackle. They addressed the corner exodus that happened to them this offseason. And so I think that was a pretty productive early draft for the Chiefs.
I love our Mason Thomas. He got
Mason, your guy from Oklahoma.
I love him. I like, you want a pass rusher, low center of gravity, pain in the ass for those big tackles to block. I think that Spags with him and knowing what I forget the secondary guy's name, but I want to say it was the draft or two after they got Mahomes where they just went all defense. They got Tranquil in that draft. They got Chanel in that draft. They got somebody else. Like, it's just an automatic trust I have with Spags. Like, you got talent, you're young, they're gonna get you right. Like, so I thought Delane was undervalued, and then as Macon pointed out, with the Tennessee corner going late in the 4th round, like, his value skyrocketed, and people are crushing the Chiefs for trading up, knowing you could get him. Everything I heard was that the Saints were going to take Delane, and that's why they had to trade up. So I thought the Chiefs were the most intriguing team inside that top 10 because we haven't seen them there, and that's a credit to them. But I look at our Mason as being a guy, like, I think you want to talk about jersey sales and team big fan bases wanting defensive jerseys. I could see our Mason being a popular jersey for the Chiefs fans.
I'm excited to watch him play. Super twitchy. Like, in their defense, you have to be able to play a 6 technique. I think he's going to have to put some weight on maybe he starts out as kind of a pass rush specialist for them because that defense, obviously there's a lot of lateral movement as well with some of the fire zones and that sort of thing, but it's also a lot of really playing blocks. And so we'll see. But y'all know I've been on the Create gummies, and the positives. I've talked about this. They really help with recovery, strength, cognition, staying active as I get older. And now creatine has a new addition, the creatine electrolytes. You take them together. Gummies are the foundation. Habits, you build the product you trust, create. It's the thing I take every day. And so now you can stack the gummies with the electrolytes. Together, the two products put you about 8 to 10 grams of creatine a day, which is, again, like the magic number for cognition and that sort of thing. If you're only taking 3 to 5 grams, you're kind of leaving some of the benefits on or off the table, however you want to put it. But consistent higher daily dosage has helped me a lot. And the electrolytes to the equation. I think hydration's enormous. So, like, the way I feel late in the day is going to be dependent upon how hydrated I am, if I got my exercise in, if I've taken my creatine gummies, if I'm sleeping, all that stuff. But on a day where maybe I don't have all those things lined up, creatine and create specifically really does help me kind of get through that occasional tough day. And the research on creatine and sleep deprivation is one of the most interesting things that honestly I've read this year on the topic. And so, draft week, perfect test case. Being prepared and being ready is just as important for you as it is for any of us who have been through the draft process. So make sure you treat your body right with Create gummies and electrolytes. I think it's worth talking about probably who the worst drafters were this weekend. I don't want to be negative. The Jags have been getting killed
Yeah.
This Gladstone guy, his arm's sore because all weekend he was reaching. And
Nice.
then he's a year removed from the Travis Hunter trade up. And now we've got a draft that everybody hates. So are we making too big a deal of some of these reaches, Steve? Or like, does it matter what we say right now as far as like what a reach is? Like, we don't know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, people are going off of their boards and what the mock guys do, and I love those guys. They put in the time, they watch the tape, and I tended to agree with them a lot. I liked at least 3 tight ends better than Burkhercher. Regis is a good player that I thought there were better guys ahead of him. Pregnon, I thought they got a really good pick there. I like Pregnon as a guard, and what you want to do is always obviously have protection when you have a franchise quarterback. And I think Travis or Trevor gets caught up and is one of those guys where when you talk to defense coordinators, we got to get him off his spot. We got to get him off the spot. You get a good guard in there that's played against really good talent, you're going to be all right. I think the Koziel kid that's a transfer ended up playing at Houston last year. He's your seams guy at tight end. So I did think there were some reaches, but there are some good things in there. And I always think the Jags too, health is the biggest thing. It never felt like they had all their receivers all last year, and Trevor has a lot on his shoulders, and they battled last year and win the division. I think Liam's a really smart dude, but this is where the NFL guys get paid the big bucks and earn their keep and their and get verification. Now you got to come back and do it again. And so that's what I find so intriguing in this league is those defensive guys never stop preparing for you, and how many more, not tricks up your sleeve, but like what's sustainable and how do you adapt, moving forward. I think that's the fascination of this league. So yeah, I thought they would go different ways with the first two, but again, I really like the Pregnon pick.
The Niners, they've been getting killed, and people are questioning John Lynch and his recent resume in drafts. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I get it. I just, the receivers is going to be like when you don't have the automatic 1A, 1B coming into the draft, and this one, even people, there was people out there that liked Lemon more than Tate, and like I said, I like Boston right up with those guys. I really like Stribling. I think he's exactly what you want in a receiver. He blocks his ass off. He separates. Lane did it. I mean, he's as good as there is in getting guys open. So he's way more balanced than I think he's getting credit for. I think people think of Lane, it's just free runners like the old Baylor receivers. That's not the case at all with Stribling. Height has some baggage. He's old. He didn't have production until he played with a lot more talent around him, as he did at Texas Tech when you saw how many guys got drafted off that defense. They've done this third-round running back thing year after year, but I like Keelan Black. I think he's a really good running back, and you need a guy to offset McCaffrey with how many snaps and balls he's going to catch. And I really like the Halton kid from Oklahoma. He's not your Dexter Lawrence size guy, but he's super effective. Moves around a ton in that Venables defense. So I was not as disappointed with the Niners picks as others were. I really like the 3 of the top 4 picks, and Height is kind of the outlier. But if he comes around, and you get the kid who they drafted, Michael last year, I always get him and the kid
Michael Williams, yeah,
like he's off of ACL. I mean, you get Bosa back healthy, and then the guy in the middle, like that's pretty damn good for passing situations. Again, every time a team wants to talk about that, we talk about the Giants. Well, I want to see what you got on first and second down. So I don't think there's as many questions. I have you got a foundation there in San Francisco. You need to plug and play guys. So that's what they went with, and they went with guys they preferred.
Are we anti the Love pick?
Yes.
It seems like a very, very popular thing to be anti on.
Go, Macon.
Jacoby Brissett is going to drive a really nice car for a year. That's all I know. And I don't want Beck playing over him. Jacoby elevates the offense. I don't know what his future holds, but I think he might enjoy this season. Now, that having been said, maybe it doesn't advance the fortunes of the team to take a running back at 2 or 3 or whatever it was. So why are we so anti?
In part because of the room, including Tyler Algier and James Conner. Feels very analogous to what the Giants did when they drafted Saquon Barkley. Not enough other rooms are good enough to take the sports car. Get better at the unsexy positions. I think it's a redo of what New York was. They'll take a quarterback next year in the first round. They'll win one playoff game in Minnesota over the next decade, and they'll have to do this all over again. Do not like.
Okay, devil's advocate. They're bad enough this year to get their quarterback next year.
Yeah. Okay. Got to get that right. I just don't. Even if you get that right, I mean, even if you don't pick,
if you
Daniel
get that
Jones,
right,
who
if you
was
get that right, and this
average.
kid's legit, I think this kid. I think you know. I don't know what their board looks like, but if they think everybody else available, like if they think there was only one true top 5 pick talent guy in this draft outside of the quarterback who got picked first, like I'm pretty sure there's probably some teams that had question marks about everybody in the top 10, maybe save for this kid. You know, it's not a top heavy draft. I'm not saying it's the right play, but what I am saying is, like, is it a sin? Is it like, do you go to the electric chair for drafting a running back that you think is a Hall of Fame talent this high? You know, that's involved in every facet of the game. You don't have to take them off the field. Maybe you're like, we're going to have the rights to this player if we draft in the top 5. Pretty fucking long time. And we don't have to really tick up the odometer year 1 because we don't have our guy yet. And we have Tyler Algier and James Conner. I don't know. I'm not saying I love the pick. But what I am saying is, if he ends up being very good and they find their quarterback next year, 2 big ifs, then nobody's frying them.
I don't know. I go back to the Giants. They definitely hit on Saquon Barkley. They halfway hit on Daniel Jones. He's proven in Indianapolis he can be a capable quarterback. And you didn't have enough around them to make any noise.
But yet Daniel Jones was not really a capable quarterback in New York, not consistently. Won a playoff game, but I don't think anybody would say he was consistently the guy. Otherwise, he'd still be there.
Yeah, if it's Dante Moore next year with Jeremiyah Love, that's a lot of fun with Marvin Harrison Jr. But there are a lot of starters on this defense who I wouldn't be able to tell you in a blind sound test if they were NFL players or not.
I don't know. They've got some good players on the defense. They've got
let me make up
Mac
a name.
Wilson. They've got Buda Baker. They've got, you know who Andrew Wingard is, Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
Walter
Who's Roy
Nolan
Lopez?
III. We'll see. I love Walter.
Who's Cody
Nolan
Simon?
Cody Simon
Ohio State
is a 2025 draft pick. So the book is still, the jury's still out on this kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'll just say this, like, there is the certainty quotient. If you think the other guys that you're considering picking are 50-50 guys, and the good side of the 50% coin flip is like a quality starter, and then this Love kid is like possibly a Hall of Famer, I might be an idiot. I always have a hard time like just murdering teams about picking the best player. I know it's out of order. We always say it. Draft the running back when you have everything else in order. But it's so, like, you're going to get killed for doing it, and you do it anyways. Like, maybe you have a plan. We'll see.
Do you think they were spooked at the edge guys that they've taken?
I think
Like,
I don't. Yeah, I think that can scar you.
I mean, Zaven Collins hasn't been what we thought. They drafted Reddick, right?
Hassan Reddick. Yeah, I
He
believe that
he
was
played
his.
it, right?
Yeah.
And then
Well,
Isaiah Simmons, like, it's
but
just
again, they're
I can
taking
see
it.
where that's like, we're not going to get this wrong again.
But they took Isaiah Simmons, who was an Arvell Reese type.
Yeah.
Like as far as multiplicity and all
Never
that
found a
shit.
play. He's still looking for a place.
Right. And then you take the other guy you mentioned was David Collins, who's a
David Collins.
tweener.
Yeah.
Known tweener. By that I mean he's not quite one thing, he's not quite the other. I think David Bailey at 2, I'm fairly confident is not going to set the league on fire. And if he does, great. I have nothing against him. I think I respect his game. But I do have concerns about him at the top of the rush. You know, so they're looking at him, they're saying, oh, I don't love him at the top of the rush. They're looking at Ruben Bain, they're saying the guy's got T-Rex arms. They're looking at Arvell Reese, the guy's not even a defensive end. Like, that's really not on the board for them, maybe. And so at that point, what are you doing? You've got one good tackle in Paris Johnson, who I really like. Do you go out and draft a right tackle at 3, like in this class? I don't know if they were comfortable doing that. You know, you've got Buda Baker. I don't think you add a safety who's got to play in the box to that equation. So, like, help me out here. You draft another wide receiver. I mean, like, all I'm saying is, like, I have empathy for Arizona. Maybe Sonny Styles, but maybe they don't like Sonny Styles.
Exactly.
So, you know,
you know who Joey Blunt is.
I do know Joey Blunt.
See,
that's right. Yep.
You know Arizona defenders.
You do. There's some guys. Darius Robinson from Mizzou. You know, Dante Stills. Father Gary Stills played with your boy Dante Stills. Nice rotational player.
How old are you?
Gary Stills was older. He had a hoop earring, like a Michael Jordan earring.
You didn't get one?
No, I didn't get one. Oh. Anyways,
no, I like their secondary guys. To your thing, yeah. It was, you know, and they're the epitome of, you know, like I said, when those rumors come out about the owner wants to take Love, it's like, all right. And then you hear all the insider stuff. It's like, oh, I had that too. And then Schefter sent it out. So it's like, all right, the Schefter verification, that's real. But yeah, it's tough. I just to make its point, I think about Algier. He's like, yeah, I'm going to Arizona. I got my squad. He's like, I'm getting away from the shadow of Bijan, and now they draft.
Yeah,
Love.
right. No,
like,
no matter where he goes,
man.
he's Batman or he's Robin, which sucks because I think he's a really good back. Maybe the Rams and the Cards should have switched picks or something like that. Like that, people would like that better. They wouldn't like that. And then the last one is the Titans. You know, interesting because Borgonzi, the GM, was in Kansas City for a long time. I looked back and wondered, did they ever take a tackle? Well, they took Fisher with the first pick, and he lasted a decade, right, with that team. Not like a home run, but like definitely a double. And so, you know, maybe that experience wasn't provocative enough for him, and he kind of likes what he's got. It kind of felt like they were sitting there at a crossroads and it wasn't quite as black and white as Cincinnati going Sewell or Jamar Chase, but like you're gonna do one of two things. You're definitely investing in the quarterback, and there was talk of a rusher, but like, are you gonna protect the quarterback, or are you gonna give him a weapon? And they end up going with the weapon. They go the Cincinnati route, and I don't know if it's that simple or if it's that good of an analogy, but they end up with surprise, an Ohio State wide receiver, and the hit rate on those motherfuckers is like a hundo. So I can't argue with the pick because it's going to help the football team. You know, if the guy's like all the rest of those guys, he's definitely going to help the football team.
Yeah, I look at Tate. We were in our game day meetings this week, and I hadn't heard it, but Joey Galloway and Desmond started talking about the idea of how high Tate's going to go and what you look for in receivers. And they brought up the idea that he's never been a 1. And so now you start thinking, it's like, are those just big-time former player receivers, over talking a position like that means something, or does it mean something? And teams are like, I don't know, man. You know, like he doesn't have Jeremiah Smith on the other side when he comes to the league. Like he comes to Tennessee, he's going to be the guy. Then you talk to guys that coached against him and with him. It's like they love him, love the dude. Like stepped into his role, knew his role, been around pros, that whole room, knows what it takes to be great, and he's going to take the next step at the next level. So, and then you have the idea of having your quarterback, and you know, I thought it was interesting hearing people talk about the idea of Love going there. And it's like you have Pollard and you still have Spears who struggles to get healthy. But like Pollard went, I think, for close to 1,100 yards last year. Like how much more are you getting out of the running back position? Whereas we could get a receiver here. Our two leading receivers, I believe, were 5th-round picks last year in DK and Io Maynor. So it's like let's get our quarterback a receiver, and then let's let our defensive head coach do his thing. All right, who do you want? Keldrick Falk. All right, give me Anthony Hill. You know, so
upside with that Falk kid. A lot of upside.
Oh God, I mean the size alone.
Didn't love his tape, but a lot of upside.
No, he doesn't have a lot of production. I get it, but the size, speed, strength, moving around, playing different. You know, those Auburn guys move all over the place, and I trust Saleh when it comes to that. Anthony Hill, I think he's just gets caught in a shadow of being compared to Colin Simmons, who we'll see in next year's draft, who's just a game wrecker. But I think Anthony Hill is a really good football player. So you got some pieces in it. I think you got a steal with Nick Singleton at running back. That could be a piece.
Second best running back in the draft, Nick Singleton.
There we
they
go.
Got their running back. Love it. Love Nick Singleton.
And Pat Coogan's a guy at center. He's played a ton of football. And you want a guy, I mean, he's played a national championship game 2 years in a row.
Leader.
I think of that guy, and I just think of old veteran centers that get drafted low but know what the hell they're doing and come from really good programs. Give me that guy in the 6th round. Are you kidding? So I like R. Mason Thomas better than Keldrick Falk. So I probably don't give them a high enough grade because they preferred other guys that I like better. But when you look at what they got and what they needed, I mean, they're going to be better. And the best pick they made the whole offseason, Chris, did you see the uniform change? Like, it's real.
Yeah.
Like, that's.
But
like,
we were
they're
not
going to get
as,
more highlights just because of their uniforms.
We were not as sold here. We liked that it was moving in the right direction, but maybe the guitar strings is a bit much.
All right. The color scheme's a million times.
Big improvement.
Like, they never knew which kind of navy blue they were going to use, like the red, and it's
an improvement.
Yes. Big upgrade.
We know just see colors. We also see details. You know?
We went right to the guitar strings.
No, I mean, seriously, like we get it. It's Nashville. We get it.
Dumbest thing in the league.
Dude, Nashville, it's out of control. Also, as a city, I'm good. Respectfully. Cross it off my list.
You graduated.
Yeah. You know where I want to be? Folly Beach, South Carolina. It's a great place.
Wow. Last place you went, you were like, I don't ever want to go back there.
To where? Which place?
You were at like a resort, remember?
Oh, yeah, Craptiva. In Florida.
I wasn't going to name
Island.
drop, but you wanted to.
I'm just not a big Captiva guy.
All right.
But I'm a big Folly Beach guy. Enjoyed that a lot.
Where do you fly to? Where did you fly your private plane?
No, we drove to South Carolina. It was 8 hours in a rented van. And then we flew back. Yeah.
Did you have a card table in the back?
In the van?
Yeah.
Nah, dude. And I was driving. I'm the driver. So whatever they're doing back there that's their business. But it's so funny. We're at the age now where people are like, well, what are they doing together? They're not on a bachelor party because they're too old. Did they all get permission to go on vacation?
I don't think they've left the house in 2 days.
We didn't. You know how you come back? You know how you come back from vacation when you're hanging out with your boys or just hanging out with your boys and your wife's like, what'd you guys talk about? She's asking questions about how are their kids? We don't fucking know. I made a list of what did we talk about? What would we put on our goalie helmets? Pelicans, sharks
Ty,
drowning people with their fins,
Ty Simpson,
tying your nutsack to your neck, bidets, blowing up the moon, a guy we knew named Tits, shitting your pants, American Spirits, Little League Baseball. We also watched the movie Volcano. You seen that movie?
No.
Volcano, set in LA. Watch the first 30 minutes of Willow. Watch
Not
Predator.
Joe versus the Volcano.
We watched Predator. We watched Speed, which really doesn't hold up as well. The acting in Speed, I hate to tell you, is not great.
God.
The acting in Speed is not great. Macon, you kind of carry the movie, Ferris Bueller.
Thank you.
And then we watched The Wizard of Oz synced up with Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, I did that in college once.
Isn't it so good?
It's crazy. But I felt
Isn't
like
it crazy?
I felt like I needed to be on drugs.
Well, we had you covered.
Guess what?
But there's the list. That's the exhaustive list. I mean, this is what we talked about. You know? So if any women out there are wondering what your husband's doing when he's like on a guy's trip, that's like what the guy's talking about.
Love it. Was there a drink of choice?
Drink of choice?
Yeah.
I would say we had a mixture of Fireball and Modelo.
Whoa.
And
see, I've graduated from that one.
Yeah, this still does the
Fireball
trick.
Just woof.
Still does the trick. Still does the trick. So anyways, yeah, Folly Beach, A+ experience.
Awesome.
Shout out to
how's the drive back?
I don't think
I
there
told
was
you we
one.
flew back.
Oh.
We flew back.
Oh, okay.
We had to fly back. We had to get back. Guys had work Tuesday. You know, like me right now, I'm putting in the hours.
Drive home from road trips is the worst.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, that does it for, I think, did we miss anything in there, Macon? We talked about damn near the whole draft. I'm really rooting for the Jordan Tyson guy. I want my wide receivers batshit crazy. I like them crying and stuff, like drooling and crying when they get picked. That's how I want my wide receivers to be.
May I tell you my favorite part of the weekend as
Sure.
we get out here? From the Giants specifically, John Harbaugh, quote, "One thing that you'll kind of probably see as we go here, we don't get too worried about stuff."
I can tell.
End quote. How great was that? Just the leaky neighbor stuff, and now it's gone. It's gone. It's dealt with.
It was handled
Don't get
perfectly.
too worried about stuff.
It was handled perfectly. And honestly, Malik Neighbors just was like, he's a smart dude. Like, he's sitting there, he's just watching TV. He's got his takes. You know, he qualified it like, hey, like, I'm a fan of the player. Just curious how times have changed. That a guy who's played half a season for a team and who's a fucking stud, Malik Neighbors is the truth. I mean, albeit he's a very good player, but that these guys are getting up there and second guessing their front offices on like live streams. And it's not malicious at all, but Harbaugh, who could be a dinosaur about it,
NBD.
kind of poured water on the fire real quick. And I thought that was gamesmanship by Harbaugh. But about that, how the fuck are you going to use this guy? So
everywhere.
Give me 11. Steve, what would you put on your goalie helmet if you're an NHL hockey player?
Ooh.
The guy from Vegas had the Tombstone dudes.
Yeah.
Which was incredible.
I'm trying to think of the other. Was it a Caps goalie or a Rangers goalie? He had an awesome American Eagle with a flag. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was.
You're big.
I'm not
big USA guy.
Yeah, I'm not like a horror. Like you guys thinking like horror movies, like Freddy Krueger, or
maybe I don't know. I haven't decided what I would have on my helmet. But it's a pretty cool thing.
The Flyers, the Flyers goalie's Vladar. That's his name. So like people are saying Darth Vladar. I've seen that. Like,
yeah, it doesn't work.
No. It's a great question. What'd you go with?
I haven't decided yet. It kind of depends on what goalie I am, you know?
What?
What team? Well, if you're the San Jose Sharks, you can put in a great white on the side of your head. No questions asked, right?
What about Columbus Blue Jackets?
No idea what that team is.
Red,
no
white, and
idea
blue.
what that mascot is. So Flyers have a guy named Bump.
Yeah, he scored last night. Got put in the lineup.
I know. Anyways, playoff hockey, a lot of fun. Playoff hockey. I fell asleep during the damn the Salt Lake and Vegas overtime. I can't last that late, dude. So I don't even know who won that game.
What? Who? Vegas won last night.
Salt Lake and Vegas. Oh fuck, man.
Yeah, we followed that one. That was fun. We were 54 seconds from going to second overtime, so we were.
Oh, really?
Happy, yeah, dude.
God,
those hockey games, they're crazy energy, but we're just sitting there waiting, like, oh, buddy, is this going to be?
Imagine being one of the players.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yoshi was talking last night about the idea of when it goes to second overtime. He's like, every time you go to get off the bench, all you feel is your quad strain.
Yeah,
and I'm like, see, I'm the opposite. Usually, it's the hamstrings. So, like, that's dicey. I have a proposition for you, Chris.
Okay.
If the Flyers win, the PGA Championship is at Aronimink, in outside Philadelphia, and there's a possibility like you could do Flyers playoff game and golf major.
What's the date?
Scott and I are leaving to go up to Aronimink the night of Mother's Day. That's the 10th. So the first day
of May.
PGA, yes. So, just something.
See you there.
Put in the back of your head. Yeah, I'm dying to go to a Flyers.
Do they take my cell phone like the Masters?
You could have it if you want. If you want, I'll take it. I'll put it in my office, and you could just enjoy a 18-hole walk. You know?
That'd be great.
That's why we're going to Augusta next year.
All right. Get rid of I can't wait for next year at Augusta.
Macon's coming. He's going to drive the van.
I'll bring the American spirits.
How's the van, Macon? Kitchen good?
We're getting there.
Oh, come on.
Never mind. I need to send a text message.
It's
now we're getting
26, buddy.
I know. Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Well, y'all, appreciate the time.
That was going to be a happy ending. We're talking about the new cabinets. My bad. I didn't read the room.